Good evening. The meeting of the Winthrop Town Council for January 6, 2015 is now called to order. This meeting is being recorded and may be televised live. Would you all please stand for the pledge of allegiance? Councilor Biaggi? I'm sorry, Councilor Brown.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You all please remain standing. A moment of silence for firefighter John Guide, who passed away suddenly recently. John was in the Winthrop Fire Service for 21 years, and we just have a moment of silence in his memory. Thank you. First order of business before we move into the public hearing is the election for the town. Sorry, roll call, Denise.
Councilor Calla. Councilor Sanford.
Here.
Councilor Boncory.
Here.
Councilor Barone.
Present.
Councilor Terry.
Here.
Councilor Boyadjian.
Here.
Councilor Mayo.
Here.
Vice President Del Vento.
Yes,
President Gill.
present.
Thank you.
The quorum is present. We'll move on to the first item on the agenda, which is the election of the town council vice president for the year 2015. We'll open up the floor for nominations. Councilor Terry.
And with all due respect to all of us who have served in this position, and in a lot of ways, this is a ceremonial position, and I think it's, it's a lot of hard work involved, and I think it's fair that we move it around a little bit, and I'd like to place in nomination Councilor Mayo. Councilor Mayo served on the council now for 3 years, in his last year of his first term, and I think it's very deserving that he takes a turn at the reins as council vice president, so I'd like to put his name in nomination.
We have a second.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Vice President, former Vice President. Is there any further nomination? If not, we'll declare the nomination closed. Could I have a motion?
Motion to cast one ballot for Councilor Mayo as the council vice president.
A motion by Councilor Del Vento to cast one vote for Councilor Mayo as Vice President. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilor Boncory. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Congratulations, Councilor Mayo.
I appreciate the confidence and thank you very much. Do I get to talk more?
I think you
Actually,
get to
less.
switch seats right away with
Yeah.
You have to come down here now.
What ceremony is that?
Right here.
You want to switch seats, or do you want, we can...
For passing the gavel.
What do you want to do?
How'd you get past the gavel?
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's do it.
The ceremony is switching of the seats.
Temporarily, I'm going to sit over in that spot this way.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing regarding a special overlay district for 60 Herman Street. And the petition has been placed by Ocean City Development, being represented by Richard Lynn, who's the attorney for the developers. The petition reads that the undersigned, being the property owner, hereby petitions the town of Winthrop to amend the zoning map of the town of Winthrop as follows: by including the Special Development Overlay District, also known as an SDOD, as defined by Section 17.48.020, the property commonly known as the Winthrop Playbankers Building, which is identified as 60 Herman Street and is bounded as described as follows, and I won't read the description. We do have a brief purpose of the SDOD. The purposes of the SDOD district is to encourage the redevelopment and reuse of existing non-residential properties in a manner compatible with the surrounding neighborhoods or commercial areas, to prevent disinvestment and deterioration of non-residential buildings that have become obsolete for their original purposes, by allowing other economic uses, including but not limited to residential uses, to protect and to enhance the value of real property, and to provide regulatory flexibility to achieve the foregoing. We do have a petition from the neighbors signed by 27 people, and the petition reads, "We, the undersigned abutters of 60 Herman Street, oppose the rezoning of said property into the Special Development Overlay District, and respectfully urge the Town Council to deny the petition of the developer. Herman Street, near 60 Herman Street, is a narrow street in a congested area. The proposed rezoning and the resulting development would exacerbate a difficult on-street parking problem while posing a threat to the safety of the direct abutter, the coming school, its students and staff, as well as the abutting neighbors. For these reasons, we urge a no vote on the proposed rezoning of 60 Herman Street into the SDOD." I will first open the floor to comments from anybody who is opposed. When you get up to speak, we would ask that you give your name, address, and/or precinct, and then what you have to say. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none.
Well,
Go ahead.
Excuse me, my name is Kathleen Hanson, I live 49 Herman Street. How many units are they actually asking to put in there?
Counselor, do you want to respond?
Thank you, Mr. President, through the members of the council. I apologize, I was not expecting to present this evening. I wasn't aware that we were actually taking testimony this evening. I wasn't notified that the council was going ahead with this tonight. My understanding was being perhaps referred to subcommittee.
You were notified it was a public hearing? Correct.
Yes. No, I wasn't notified that it was a public hearing tonight.
You were emailed last Friday that there was a public
I
hearing.
got a notice of this letter from the planning board indicating that the recommendation was to adopt the SDOD, for the town to adopt the SDOD.
I don't know what happened to the email, but I emailed you last Friday that we had a reminder that we had a public hearing tonight.
I'll review the emails for that. So is it?
And it was advertised twice.
Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
I'm
All right.
not saying that it's not advertised. Is it the intention of the council to take the vote this evening?
No,
Okay.
no, the public hearing tonight.
Okay. If I could just add a couple of points, and I guess the question was relative to the number of units. As this council knows, under the SDOD bylaw, the requirements that are set forth in the bylaw in the town's zoning ordinance require first that the planning board make its recommendation, and then the town council act upon that recommendation. As this council knows, the planning board has recommended unanimously 7-0 to place this site into the SDOD. That does not designate any number of units or any type of development. I'm familiar with the petition that was filed. I'm curious as to who the author of the petition was, and I don't know if the president has that information, or
Doesn't say.
if we could make some inquiries to who prepared that or who circulated it. But in addition to that, I think that it's imperative to understand, at least for the council to understand, at this point in time, the only duty for the council is to determine whether or not the recommendation of the Winthrop Planning Board is appropriate or not. I would submit that a 7-0 recommendation by your planning board after careful deliberation as to designating this for SDOD is significant, and I think the council should take that into consideration when making its deliberations. I certainly sympathize with the concerns that are raised in the petition. This is not the appropriate time and the appropriate forum to address those. There will be a further discussion, as this council is aware, before the Winthrop Planning Board, should we decide to go forward with the development proposal, if this council goes ahead and grants the SDOD for this site. As to the number of units, that's subject to discussion with the Winthrop Planning Board, and certainly subject to a very extensive community process and community involvement with the Planning Board's guidance. So I would submit to the board that tonight's responsibility, or the responsibility before the board presently, is a very narrow one, and that narrow responsibility is to determine whether the planning board's recommendation should be adopted or not, and to not get into the issue of whether or not the site should be developed, for how many units, cars, parking, etc. All of those are more appropriately addressed at the time before the planning board for any special permit that may be filed. I'm happy to answer any
We
additional
understand that. In all due respect, this is a public hearing at which people have the opportunity to ask questions, and apparently the answer to her question is undetermined.
Undetermined at this time, and will be obviously.
No, I understand the process from here on, but
Yeah.
the short one-word answer is number of units undetermined.
Undetermined.
Yes.
Will we know how many units before they even get approval for it? I mean,
Yes,
will we
what'll happen
actually
is the step after this, if it gets approved by the council to be moved into that district, then the planning board runs a series of hearings runs a hearing where they will answer a series of questions, one of which will be how many units, design, parking, and all of that stuff. And the planning board makes the decision as to what can be done there. This process right now is to take the planning board's recommendation to go into an SDOD stand, and from that, there's a whole series of rules and regulations, and then the planning board makes the determination as to how it's done. The same thing that was done with the hospital and the temple and the Dalrymple School, that once it was put into the district, then the planning board determines through the rules and the zoning that's in the book and input from the neighbors and the community as to what actually the final disposition is.
Mr.
Counsel?
President, not because I want to cut anybody off, but
No,
I
go
didn't
ahead.
see most of the people that wanted to speak
Right.
on it. But the council has already sent the issue to a joint subcommittee of the Public Safety Subcommittee and the Rules and Ordinance Subcommittee, who will be having a hearing on this issue on the 13th, which is next Tuesday at 7 p.m. And therefore, I think the public hearing here, and I would make a motion that we continue this public hearing until after that meeting is held, and possibly, I think Council Roney is thinking about having a meeting in the neighborhood with the neighbors on this as well. So I would
So
ask that
would
we
your motion be
continue this public hearing until our next meeting.
So there's a motion in front of us that, do you mean to stop this hearing now or to continue?
To continue the hearing till
Right.
the next meeting. If people can't make it, of course, they have an opportunity to talk here, and they should.
Right, so we will not shut this hearing down now, we will continue this hearing and then continue it to the next, okay.
Correct.
I just want to get the motion. So Councilor Boncory has requested that we continue the hearing. In other words, we will continue to have the hearing tonight, but we won't end it tonight. That-
Correct.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that. I'm
Second by
amenable to
Councilor
that.
Barone. And thank you for pointing out that there is a meeting of our Rules and Ordinance and Public Safety Committee a week from tonight to further discuss this issue. And then the following week, we'll come back and continue this hearing. So,
I have a question.
yes, just your name and address.
Shelley Flaherty, I'm District 1, I guess. I might not know the rules or regulations or whatever, but, so if they get approved, go through the thing, and say they may, do they determine, like, can they, will the subcommittee, whatever, to say that they can get, like, 2 units in there? Or will they come up back and say, no, they can have like 5 or 6, 7 or 8? Like, after they get approved for it, like, how will we say oh, they're gonna get 10 units in there, or?
After they get approved for the designation, they go by the zoning that's outlined in the designation, and then the planning board does a series of meetings in which they determine what happens there. So it could go into the district and then, or it does go into the district if it's voted, and then the planning board determines what actually happens in there, and they do it based on input from the citizens.
Okay, so they're saying they want 8, can all of a sudden 10, 12 units go in there? Like, if they get approved for that?
Theoretically, but
Yeah.
no.
No,
Be-
okay.
Because there are
Density.
restrictions, density
Right.
restrictions within the existing bylaw that applies to it.
Okay, so he's not giving us a number, so that's what I'm saying, like, they can't come back and say, we're only gonna say 8, but then say we're gonna try to get 12 out of that space.
I don't see that ever happening, no.
Okay.
I mean, I can't guarantee it, but I can't see that ever
Right,
happening.
right. It's just, I don't know.
It's not 12. I'm gonna assure you it's not 12.
No, there's not enough room.
Right,
inside
well,
to do
eight's
that.
too many. Right, exactly, 8's too many.
Yeah, right.
1's too many.
Is there any further public comment as far as who's opposed or now anybody who is in favor? Yes, John.
John Cataldo.
Your address, John. So,
I think
John.
before...
your address, John. Your address.
Oh,
Where you live.
72 Herman.
72, thank you.
I think before any decision is made, I think every one of the people who voted should take a site visit of this property. The topography of the property is it's not flat land, and there'd be a lot of site work in order to do anything we saw in that that chart the other day, the planning board, there's no presentation here now, but it's a real concern. My mother's the abutter, and the plan they put out the other day doesn't really look like the site itself. I mean, there's a lot of false presentation right there. I have some pictures of the backyard, so we can pass these around. You can see this site. I don't see any way that backyard could be leveled without interrupting or devaluing our property a lot. There's only the driveway in front. They said they have 19 feet. Do you have the opening of the driveway?
Mr. President, I didn't know that we were prepared to make a presentation tonight. I mean, with
Okay.
respect to all the issues, we're prepared to address those as part of the planning board process. We'll even answer them at the subcommittee. I don't have our engineer here.
Okay.
I didn't believe we
So-
were making a presentation tonight.
Do you plan to have a presentation available for the subcommittee next
If the
week?
subcommittee so desires, we'll bring materials. I'll do whatever the subcommittee asks. I just,
How do you
again,
feel, Council? Would you like to?
I would like to see that, and ask John if I can keep these pictures
Yeah.
for the subcommittee meeting.
There's a picture of me in the picture and level land, so you can see the difference in the site. You're talking about 15 feet from the edge of the driveway to the backyard. So if you were in the backyard, some kind of 15-foot retaining wall would have to be abutting my fence. And that's just not...
Mr. President, just briefly, again, with all due respect, I appreciate these concerns, these issues that are going to be raised by neighbors. The more appropriate forum will be the planning board process, as well as the special permit that gets filed, with all of that input being taken by the planning board. Again, the issue, just for the record, is a very narrow one before this council, and that is whether to adopt the SDOD and whether or not the recommendation of the planning board should be upheld, simply based upon the statutory or the bylaw requirements of.
I understand that, Councilor. However, in due respect to the neighbors, I feel that they have the opportunity in a public hearing, and if we were to deny them the opportunity in the public hearing, they can do it in the public comment.
Sure.
But I think in all due respect and courtesy to the neighbors who have come here for public hearing, that I will allow them to express their concerns. And I will allow you to respond to their concerns if you want to. Obviously, you're not prepared, and you misunderstood what was happening tonight, and you didn't get your email. I feel that's unfortunate.
Yeah, again, I don't think I misunderstand, and I'm not looking to stifle anybody's comments here tonight. I think the limited purpose of what the public hearing is for, and I have no problem with people making comment or asking them to respond, just making the record of what the limited scope for the town council
Thank you.
is. That's before me. Thank you.
Is there any further comments?
There's one other thing on that was present on the chart from the other night. The actual measurements of the driveway abutting is about 12 feet from the building. So whatever they have on the chart is the fence that's been there for 40 years. So
Okay, so the follow-up to this is that there will be a public meeting next week, and then we will continue the public hearing 2 weeks from tonight, and then it goes back, if it passes, then it goes back to the planning board for the details. If this particular meeting is to, this particular proposal is to determine whether that property becomes an SDOD, and then the planning board determines what can be done within the guidelines of the SDOD ordinance.
Council President, my name's Richard Nicoletti. I live at 14 Herman Street. I hate to take up too much of the time, but the SDOD, once you approve that, they've got a straight line to the planning board, and then they just keep going. If you were not to approve that, what's the next step that you folks would do? If they turn it down, obviously you think they're not gonna, because the planning board went 7-0. And I know what the planning board wants to do, bring more taxes in the community, and I can understand that. So I guess my question is, if the council turns down the SDOD, what's the next step? What happens to the land? Does anybody know?
What happens to the land is it stays as residential A, unless the applicant intends to make some sort of further move on it. But if the council does not approve the SDOD, the property remains residential A.
And you, I hate to ask you, but what would you do in that case?
I haven't crossed that bridge yet.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, what I'm having a problem with is seeing something approved when we have no idea what they're gonna put there. And I understand the steps, I clearly understand the steps, and I understand what you're saying. It's gotta be SDOD approved, and then you go on to the further steps, which means that we will be coming to meetings for the next 3 years. We've gone through this with this town before, they told us about the school, they told us they weren't gonna be parking, they won't be picking up their kids out front, that area out there, the courtyard's gonna be a courtyard, it's not gonna be a playground, it turned into a playground, so you can see how I'm very apprehensive about how far we
I
go with
understand.
this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Yes,
Michelle Barty, I have a question. The school is filled with kids. Now that the middle school, the middle school is now the high school, we have so many kids in the school. Between the two schools, we have over 1,000 kids. And then you want to add more cars to that playmakers or the condominium, whatever they want to make it into. I mean, when there's an emergency, when they have a fire drill, all the kids line up on Herman Street. And then having that access, the fire department, I mean, it's just more problems for the fire and police department that they have to worry about coming down on Hermit Street to worry about these kids crossing there. It's just madhouse during morning drop off and pickup, because there's the delayed drop off and delayed pickup in the afternoon, and then there's also the Fort Banks gets dropped off at the last stop for Fort Banks gets dropped off here in the afternoon.
and that's part of the reason in the joint hearing next week, that it's involving not only our Rules and Ordinance
Yeah.
Committee, but our Public Safety
Just bring
Committee.
that up during
Yeah.
that committee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Frank?
Frank Costantino, Precinct 2, and a business owner on Pauline Street in the Metcalf Cultural District. I think I would oppose this, granting of this overlay district, for the simple reason of the known density of the property in this area and the adjacency to the school system. I think the town council and the planning board has an opportunity to do something beneficial for the town overall, given the density that we have in the community already, to allow a district change that would then give the opportunity for developers to come in to increase that density even further, causing a disadvantageous situation to what we have with the school already and the abutters and the neighbors in the Herman Street area would, I think, be a detriment to the general neighborhood and to the town. I think having an overlay district for a specific property is not a bad idea, where there's room enough to be able to do the development with the improvements that have been the case with the hospital and certainly down at the temple. I think in this situation, to allow that approval, knowing the difficulties that are inherent in the property already, and then opening it up to developers that want to maximize whatever they want to do with this particular property, which is going to increase that density and then create a disadvantage to the community, I think would be a poor decision. And I think the town council and the planning board needs to be much more careful in their deliberations on how they designate new properties that are coming up for special overlay district designation, so that this density problem can be avoided by not having that approval in the first place. So I would certainly oppose having this approval for an overlay district.
Thank you, Frank. Yeah.
Roberta Cataldo, 16 Herman. Have you turned down any other properties in the town asking for this?
I don't believe so.
Yes, we have.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We did on Pleasant Street,
Unpleasant, that's right,
On
yeah.
Pleasant?
And there's no on Pleasant Street, yeah.
Mhm. Thank you.
which is still vacant.
Yes, that's right, yeah. Just to speak to Frank's, and that, so your concern is that given, if it's an SDOD, the allowed occupancy is going to be more, definitely more than in you feel now, more, the number of units is definitely going to be more, because now it's residential land. I just want to clarify, so that then does become an issue of SDOD as opposed to all the other issues.
I also want to mention that beside the traffic, we have a bus stop right there on both sides of the street that tie up the street constantly when the kids are getting in and out of school.
Okay, anything else, any further? If not, anybody from the council? Council?
From the council, not to reiterate anything that's already been said here, but essentially we're talking about rezoning one building. By right, there, you could put a one or a two-family dwelling in that structure. So we're now considering changing zoning just for one particular building. So I believe that it is an appropriate time to discuss the details of it, because how can we as a council put forth any rational decision without knowing the details for changing the zoning of that one particular building? We need to know. I mean, because the size, the scope, the scale of the project has to fit the neighborhood. So essentially, before we grant an additional zone for one particular building, we need to know what's going there.
Thank you, Councilor.
I'm not done.
I'm sorry.
Excuse me, sir. I have been presented with a petition from 29 of the abutters who are within 300 feet of the property. Massachusetts general law specifically addresses that, where it's within 300 feet of the property. Their voice is intended to be heard. I want to hear from all of them. I would like to have the opportunity, before we extend the public hearing, to talk with the neighbors, and also invite the developers and their attorney or their architect to come down and actually see possible drawings of the building, their prospective plans. But as it stands right now, the people whom I represent have clearly said to me they do not want this. And as such, I cannot support it.
Any further comments from the council? If not, we have a motion that's been made and seconded to extend the public hearing, not to close the hearing tonight, to extend the public hearing to 2 weeks from tonight. In the meantime, there will be a joint subcommittee meeting of the Rules and Ordinances Committee and the Public Safety Committee of the Council a week from tonight at 7 o'clock, and that's going to be up in room 1.
It's up in room 1. It's the room as you come in the front door of Town Hall to the right, I believe.
Yeah.
It's in
First
new
room on the
conference
right.
room.
It's posted as room 2 on
Room
our
two.
calendar.
It is room 2.
Room 2? Okay.
Room 2, yeah.
Being no further comment, could I have a motion to continue the public hearing to the next meeting? I mean, sorry, we have the motion. Any
Second.
discussion?
Call for a vote.
If not, all those in favor of extending, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. I thank you all for your input, and
Thank you.
we will keep our ears open and move on with this. Before we move on further, I'd like to take a moment to recognize Charlotte Fobrit. Charlotte has been a very committed and professional employee of the town. She was the town clerk's principal clerk for many years, and also the clerk of the licensing board for many years. Charlotte is retiring, and we're going to present her with a citation on her retirement that reads, "Be it known that the town council hereby offers its congratulations to Charlotte Fobert on your retirement. On behalf of the citizens of Winthrop, the town clerk's office, the town manager's office, the Board of License Commission, we thank you for your commitment and professionalism for your many years of service. Given the 6th day of January, 2015 at Winthrop, Massachusetts, Peter Gill, Council President, and then all the council members." No, she's not here. No, she's not. No, she's not here. Again, thank you, Charlotte. Thank you to the neighbors of 60 Herman Street for being here this evening.
She misses a picture.
Yeah, she misses a picture.
You have to swing by Town Hall and take it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Public safety rules and ordinances. The first floor. Yes, but that meeting Tuesday.
Hey, you all back to the Tuesday meeting.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I know. I know. Because he didn't hear that. Oh, yeah.
Unless something changed.
Here's a good idea, we could put the credentials. Do what?
Okay, the minutes from the December 16th meeting. Do I have a motion to accept? Motion by Council Lettieri, seconded by
Second.
Council Boyajin. Any discussion on the minutes? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
I'm abstaining.
Russ is going to.
I was not, yeah. I was
Council
not-
Sanford was
not here.
Thank you. Public comment. Seeing none. Moving on to correspondence. We have a letter from the Chamber of Commerce. Council Sanford, could you fill us in on the Chamber of Commerce function?
Yeah, the Winthrop Chamber of Commerce is having their 24th annual kickoff dinner and awards night. It's going to be Friday, January 23rd at the Hyatt Harborside at Logan Airport. Reception starts at 6:30, dinner at 8 p.m. It's $45 per person. RSVP are due by January 9th. Complimentary parking will be offered. And just if I give you a list of the award recipients, youth leadership, and forgive me if I mess up on any of these names, but Tiana Di Benedetto and Daniel Delano. For youth leadership, town services, I'm proud to announce Terrence Delahanty, our chief of police. Coach of the year, Stephen Rogers. Excellence in the arts is Music Matters. Chamber member of the year, Barbara Flover and Anita Pacey. Patriot Award, Matthew Murphy. Lifetime Achievement Award, Jerry Falbo. Past Distinguished Service Award, Jim and Elizabeth Polino. Community Service Award, Bob Driscoll Sr. Educational Excellence Award, Don Lettieri. Congratulations to Don.
Congratulations, Councilor.
And Business of the Year would be Blackstrap Barbecue, located at the center. So it's a great list of award winners and recipients. I'm proud to present them for the Chamber of Commerce tonight. And we'd like everyone who would like to attend, please contact the Chamber of Commerce, 617-846-9898. Thank you.
And it's the date and time again?
The date and time again, Council President, is
23rd.
January 23rd, which is a Friday night. 6:30 reception, 8 o'clock dinner.
Great, thank you very much. So that's the night of the MMA at the center? Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Okay, and we also have a communication that actually came from Mr. McKenna's bulletin, monthly bulletin, that Kate Economides of Blackstrap is announcing that Richie Honan, a Winthrop native who spent his lifetime by the living motto, I just want to do good things for others, end of quote. It's now his community's turn to celebrate and honor Richard's selfless work over the years on behalf of our nation's servicemen and women. Excuse me. On Saturday, January 24th, the next night, Cottage Park Yacht Club in Winthrop from 6 to 11, Richard is being honored at a dinner organized by the Good News Club and his friends and neighbors. Tickets are $50 per person for the dinner and festivities, and will include live music by John Watkins and his band. There will also be a silent auction. Proceeds from the event go to Richard's Support the Troops charity, care of American Legion, Post 146. Cash bar will also be available. For tickets, please email Kate at info@blackstrapbbq.com. That information is also on the town website on Mr. McKenna's monthly mail, and I'm sure if all worst came to worst, you could call Blackstrap, ask for Kate, and make your reservations there. As we know, Richie's been a tremendous supporter of the troops and in everything in town here as well. So it's in his honor, but the funds are to go to his program. Excuse me. Council Boncory, you have already talked about your rules and ordinances meeting.
Correct.
This combined with the safety, and then you have the other one for the rules and procedures.
Yes, the Rules and Ordinance combined meeting with Public Safety will be at 7 p.m. in Room 2 upstairs on the 13th of January, and then the Rules and Ordinance Committee will continue and meet at 8 p.m. Or whatever time we're able to finish the first meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. McKenna, tell me just report.
Good evening and Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir.
Good to see all of you again. It's been somewhat, I think you're out there. Shall I wait? Getting back into the the throes, as we all are. We did some assessing of where we are as an administration, and I'm looking at 17 projects that we have going on, which is customary, it seems, not unusual at all, but in fact, what we're doing throughout the community in the various departments. And so we're taking a status report on where we are with those projects, seeing where we need to backfill, looking at our finances, taking a mid-year dipstick, if you will, on our budgets, and we're meeting with some departments and going over things and making good progress. Nothing to date seems out of line in terms of where we stand from a revenue or expenditure perspective. A few issues that we're addressing, but all in all, we've got a lot to do in front of us, and it will be a very active spring, no doubt about it. In fact, we have, just going through the list, the Lewis Lake project is getting some serious attention at the state level, and I want to thank the speaker for his personal involvement in bringing this to the attention of the Department of Conservation and Recreation, the DCR. And I've been in conversations with representatives of the DCR, and I will be having a meeting on Monday to go over some of the details of the plan for the restoration of the drainage network in that area, as well as the proposed plan that we have, and I've developed with Steve Kala and our engineering firm to consider the dredging of Lewis Lake, the expansion of some water retention areas in the vicinity of Veterans Road, and to really and to restore the mechanical infrastructure there as well, so that we now have once again established a functioning drainage for that area. That is a primary drain swale for the town, and it's been generations since it's been addressed adequately and responsibly, and so I'm excited to know that the state is supportive of this effort, and we could perhaps be willing to help finance it. So we're in discussions on that. We're making good progress. Joe Warfant gave me a call and acknowledged he thinks the smart approach that we're taking, and so there seems to be a good level of endorsement and enthusiasm coming from the state on that project. That'll be a big project for us. We're working on a number of other projects, as you know. I think there's the general concern that we need to focus on Miller Field more specifically on its revitalization and develop a task force that has some specific charge to help address and move that project forward. So I'm talking with Superintendent Massaro about that. Also, the middle school reuse plan. What happens when we're finished using that as a public school? And so, likewise, we'll need to develop a task force of community folks to help think through a viable alternative use and prospective plans for that building. And so that strategic planning effort will begin. We're thinking about a new website for the town, something that's much more functional, much more informative, more consistent with current websites and what people expect to be able to use and access the website. We're excited about the MMA conference that we're going to go to in a couple of weeks, to really with a specific interest in looking at some of the technology improvements that we can make in town government.
It would be nice to get the calendar so it can actually link to our calendars for all the meetings.
Yeah. We need much more functionality, and so I've tasked one of my staff with looking at that specifically as a goal this spring, and to bring forward options for us to consider, and in view of wanting to make it more of a platform for information sharing, and provide the kinds of resources that I think people expect now from a web-based alternative. And likewise, we're looking at the idea that Councilor Mayo put forward in advancing some technological outreach for other boards and committees. And so we're having a webinar next week on a proposal for that technology. And again, another staff person has been delegated to lead that effort and come back with some research on what options we have in that respect. We are moving forward with a number of items that have sort of continued to occupy our time. I won't get into them specifically, but I do want to ask that Steve Callan address two issues. One, a status report on our meter project, which is continuing, and also the fact that he put some level of information in front of the council on his contract 4 proposal. He'll be developing a motion that'll come forward with a specific funding request on the extent to which sidewalks and additional infrastructure will be requested from the council in the very near future. And I'm looking for the council to provide some feedback and input on that effort. Steve?
Good evening. Yeah, I just want to give you a quick update on the Radio Read project first. I'm very proud to report that we're on to our 7th meter route out of 11 routes in town, deploying the Radio Read modules, which translates to us being about 2/3 the way through the town reading on the Radio Read network. We'll be starting meter reading next week, so now we only have to manually read about 1/3 of the town, which will save a lot of manpower. We'll keep focused on deploying the modules. We hope to have all the modules deployed by this summer, in which time we'll resume the meter installs. All of the large meters, the Governor's Park condos, the yacht clubs, the laundromats, anything larger than 1 inch have all been deployed at this point. So we'll be really focusing on residential meters starting in the summer. That said, from the initial $750,000 loan that we took from MWRA, where we got a balance just below $100,000. So in the next month, maybe sooner, we'll be looking to make a transfer from the recovery fund, which is the meter fee. It's the 12 billing cycles that we've been collecting. We started collecting, I believe it's 6 billing cycles ago. We'll be looking to make a transfer into the actual Radio Read project fund so that we can utilize that money to continue purchasing modules and to start purchasing the meters. Again, I just want to reiterate the fact that this project being done in-house by about 6 individuals, it's a huge feat for us to be reaching out to residents to be able to gain an entry to homes, responsibly and professionally installing these meters to a savings to the town of about $1.5 million by doing it in-house. So it's a project that I'm really proud of, as well as the people actively doing it. Contract 4. We are at the point now that it's becoming a little bit urgent to make the decision as to whether or not we want to apply more money to the sidewalks in that project. It's going to make a big difference on how we present our bid package. So it's a decision that I'm hoping that we can, or a conversation I'm hoping that we can have sooner than later. We're hoping to get this project out to bid by early spring and start an early summer construction. National Grid is moving quickly. They've done all the gas work over in the the Plummer Ave, Pico Ave area. They're onto the hill. They have a couple more months of work there, but, so we're looking to really get this going. It's gonna be it's a large-scale project, so, you know, we don't wanna be starting too late in the construction season. That's all I have.
Steve, the water sewer lines going into both those projects too?
It's strictly a water project, with small, we're cammering all the sewer lines as we go. Obviously, we open up the roads are gonna be reclaimed, so we wanna make sure that the sewer pipes are in good order. We're cleaning and cammering everything, and we'll make spot repairs, but it's not a total replacement of sewer, it's a total replacement of water.
Okay, great, thank you. And just back to your other, the water meter replacement thing, I've heard, I want to commend you on the progress that you've made on that. And on a softer note, I've heard wonderful comments from people, including my personal experience on the installation of the water meters, that the guys arrived politely, did the work, left clean, nothing. It was a very, very good experience. I commend you and your staff on that. Thank you.
Can I just ask you a question? Oh, and I think you're doing a fantastic job with everything. It looks wonderful.
It does.
But I got a complaint the other day about the stairs that go down from Herman Street to Short Street. And I took a ride by them, and they look like they're, you know, out of line. Also, the stairs that go from Sagamore down to Crest. I just don't know if you could take a look at them, see if there's anything you can do temporarily to help out. I don't know how many people actually use them. But someone came to complain about those stairs from Herman Street to Short Street too.
We are aware of them. There is significant work that needs to be done on those two locations. There's actually a couple other locations that also need attention. I am going to have to probably get an engineering company involved to look at it, to see if there's some sort of module units that can be put in. They are close to 100 years old, all of those locations. So.
Do you think there would be a possibility to just ramp that one on Herman to Short? It seems like we have the distance in that street that we might make it handicapped accessible ramp using, do away with the stairs. Just we'll take a look at it.
That is the problem when you get into restoring these stairs. Because now with the new ADA compliancy, most of them would have to be changed over to a ramped style to get, you know. So there is a bit of perspectives to look at.
Just ask you to take a look at that.
We will.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I got the same call on the one from coming down through the Highlands, the Sagamore one. And I got another call on the one up in the Highlands from Cliff all the way down to, Quincy all the way down. And, you know, none of those public stairways shows up anywhere on our capital plan. I don't know if they're that far down, or maybe we should just get a quick analysis and how many we got and what we want to do and where we want to go and see if we can make any heads or tails.
We've made some progress on the waterfront, the water access.
Yeah.
But these stairs that you're all speaking of, and believe me, they're on my radar, and they date back to the narrow gauge, and probably before that, perhaps. So
yeah, I assume they're all.
Quite a project, yeah.
Question through the chair, Council.
Yes, Council.
Question for Mr. Keller. Have you had any difficulties with people getting in for the water read, radio read program?
For the most part, people have been pretty receptive. We had a few instances where we had to remind people of the ordinance, of removing valves prior to, removing supply valves prior to the meter. Only one instance that we had to go in with police presence but other than that, no. It's been pretty successful.
Because I've heard nothing but good things, and I can't imagine anyone complaining at this point, but I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman.
Is there a cost for that police presence? Because it seems as though it'd be a nice chargeback. If somebody's not gonna follow the law, that we should have a fine there. If we have to come in with a police guy, pay for the detail. I don't know what the,
Well, we do it as a courtesy.
well,
Quite frankly, it's, you know, a lot of the times that we are on presence where it's resolved rather quickly and efficiently once we arrive on scene. We use shift personnel, it's not a detail at this time. But if we did have to certainly go a different route, administrative search warrant to enter the building at that point, we'd be looking for chargebacks through the court.
Thank you. Any further questions? Are you?
No, I've got some more.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go to it.
Okay. Just a quick update. The Temple Apartments grand opening is scheduled for Thursday, January 22nd at 10 a.m.
Is it 10 or 10:30? The
have
invitation
10:30.
says 10:30.
You may be right.
I'm
is it a
just-
full permit, is it full CO, or are there any contingencies?
They have a temporary CO at the moment. They have the punch list complete.
It is 10:30.
10:30?
10:30, but-
Okay, you got 10:30.
Oh.
10:30. We are applying for a police grant for cameras in our police cruisers that we submitted today. Work has begun on the barge at the landing. You may see some activity down there.
Yes. What's the cost on the cameras?
Cat.
Chief.
Cameras cost for...
Yeah, cameras, the full cost of cameras is $59,000.
Okay, you
That's the full project. The grant that we have just applied for is $30,000, and we would stage it in over multiple years. So we have 3 primary line paths that we would first, the 911, 922, 993 are the primary response vehicles, and we'd look to expand that out. Of course, depending on if it's a competitive grant, but we feel that the timing is necessary to ensure safety of the police officers as well as if there's an incident to be able to go back and review that incident during internal investigations as well. To hold everyone accountable. As we know, the trend across the nation at this point is accountability in law enforcement and public trust. From Ferguson all the way to New York to Boston, that's what people are demanding, and we're trying to make sure people in Winthrop know that we understand their concerns and we're being responsive to those concerns.
Chief, just a question. What would be the difference in body cams and police cruiser cams?
The body cams, you're running about $20,000 to $30,000. The officer self-activates it. It's obviously a mechanism that's portable and mobile that has falls and breaks, replacement costs and everything else. But the dashboard cams stay on the dashboard. They activate and point to blue lights and exit doors, so to capture an image, and also does passive recording. So there's much more flexibility to that. You're not relying on the officer to flick it on during selected events, but it's constantly monitoring, because in a high stressful event, you're not going to remember to hit this button. You're going to remember to defend yourself, to go for your defensive tools. This is the last thing I'm remembering to flick on. So
The thing that I'm worried about is that when you leave the cruiser and you go into a house on a domestic and you need backup, they don't know it because the camera's in the car and not on you. So.
yeah, so I certainly understand those concerns, but then we also have to worry about privacy concerns and whether we're filming inside someone's house compared to a public way, and certainly the courts have not ruled on that. So the cautious route right now is dashboard cameras where we are on public ways and people can be freely recorded on those public ways.
Any other questions? Mr. McKenna? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I have questions, but you're not done, so.
Oh, okay, go ahead. I bet you
Yeah,
mentioned Sarah.
I just want to let you know that I'm working on a redevelopment design plan with some professionals for the center, and consistent with some thoughts that I've had and shared with a number of you regarding potential redevelopment concepts for the center. The Finance Commission's work is meeting on the 21st of January, where we'll be giving a budget update as well as working on thoughts about the development of the FY16 budget. And I'm meeting with the library trustees on January 13th to discuss personnel changes at the library. That's my report. Happy to take questions.
Good news on the center, that's good, we need that. It's a project that's been long in the process and the wondering and the wishing, so good news.
And
Any other
Council,
questions from the
if
council?
you could just include me in those
Yeah.
meetings
Sure.
as we go forward.
Mhm.
Okay, great, thanks.
Any further questions for Mr. McKenna?
I wouldn't want to start the year off and just let you sit there. So,
In this new role, you're supposed to just be quiet.
I resign.
told him.
Pass him the gavel, Walt.
The barge is being fixed. The barge, where do we stand there? It's out for bid, it's not for bid, we're doing the work here, so.
It's in sort of a piece-by-piece basis right now. They're doing an assessment of what they need to do, and once they establish that, then they'll be going forward with a, what seems to be the hazardous issues of the barge first, to address those as, and then treat the barge with an appropriate top coat for obvious reasons. And that involves scrubbing it down to, a level of, protection, and applying the various marine applications that they need to apply. But they're in on it, and so it's happening.
Do we know where we stand with the riprap issues down there? Is there anything happening?
That project seems, Chief, you want to talk about giving us an update on that?
Well, we actually got a call this week from Fish and Game, because they've championed it. We're in a land management deal with them. They did all the engineering, they've been through COMCOM, they have their order of conditions. The state of Massachusetts was going through a routine audit after the blizzard. They were auditing the blizzard of 2013, where we got the funds for that. The funds will be coming, but as we spoke to them, they asked why the project hasn't begun. And I kind of said we don't have the funds to start it, but their feeling it should be started with the funds coming. If it's an urgent project that you put into FEMA, then we have to move forward on the project. So at this point, the state, we're waiting through Markey's office, Elizabeth Warren's office. They're doing some backroom searching just to let us know when the funds are going to be released. And then at that point, we'll probably be looking to go forward. But Fish and Game would love to have the project done with the scope of approximately, I think, with an addition, if you get in and you start to unwrap the project, we can go up to $150,000 of FEMA money on that project. So right now, we're just waiting to see what comes back out of a little investigation in the back room when they're going to release the funds and the audit's complete.
Would that include a new ramp? Or would that just be for the riprap, so different
I'll let
project?
the manager speak on
Is that still on board, or?
Well, they know they need to do that. There's been a little bit of back and forth, finger pointing about money, that they thought they had more money to do that ramp, and they don't. The land, as far as we're concerned, the landing, ramp project is Fish and Game's responsibility. So we're encouraging them to take a close look at this and see if they could fold it into the bid and see what we would come up with, and try to muster a funding source at the state to help fix the ramp. In the meantime, we've been trying to just keep people safe on it and address it as we can. I don't know if you've been down there in recent times, filling some holes and that sort of thing, but it's fighting Mother Nature. It's a tough thing to do. We fill a hole and it gets pulled out, given the tides. So it's a challenge.
So as long as we're on the waterfront, where do we stand on the ferry?
It's being built.
Okay, so where do we stand?
At some point, I'm going to have to take a ride down to Maryland and make sure it's being built. So that's going to be something that we're going to schedule at some point.
Council field trip?
You bet.
An offsite. I like that.
No, not to go on that,
Yeah.
that ferry is like a baby coming,
Yeah.
and, you know, you gotta paint the bedroom and buy a crib, and
Yeah.
we certainly
Right.
have an operational plan. I didn't know where we are.
That's
on
been
our
assigned to,
Cruise director?
no, we don't have a cruise director, but that's been assigned to Joe to develop my assistant to develop a business plan for the operation. We have been talking with a person who has significant experience in operating a ferry about the idea of coming on potentially as a deputy to tag along with Joe Montalto and understand the operation of the landing and how things work and help us with logistics, and then potentially help fold some of that experience into more direct policies and procedures for running a ferry. And that's developing. I don't want to say too much because that hasn't happened. But
So, I know Tim was concerned about energy issues. Are you seeing any rapid escalation on those
knock
areas?
on wood, so far, things seem to be holding at where we had planned. Thankfully, I think given the gas pricing, that has had a beneficial effect on the pricing of energy as a whole. And so we're seeing, basically, relatively reasonable expense at this point. We're mindful of the weather changes and seeing where that goes, and if we have a strong, winter, anything could change. But at this point, things seem to be holding on the expense side.
All set?
For now.
Any further questions? If not, we'll move on to the school department update. There's some good stuff going on in the schools. The Paul and Norma Vasella Scholarship, the large amount of money that was left to the school scholarship fund, is awarding $237,500 this year to graduating seniors. And that will be an ongoing process. In addition to that, it's contributing $12,500 for AP testing. So that's a great new source of revenue. We two high school students, Vanessa Dale and Sila Zawango, were named as two of the 3,100 outstanding participants in a National Achievement Scholarship Program. Fifth grade students Julia Dickinson, Evelyn Feeney, Nora McCary, Maddie Rossi participated in the first Lego League Boston tournament, a VU tournament. They won second place. Third grade, Emily Walker, one of 44 in the step music students recently honored by National Arts and Humanities. Bobby Hubert participated and raised $1,500 for the Sabina Feudo Family Fund at a bake sale. We know that Winthrop has always had a focus or an eye on athletics, and I mentioned the last time that the football team and the cheerleaders were recognized and honored at the school committee. The boys' Winthrop hockey team is off to a fantastic start. Councilor Lettieri has the upgrade on the stats for the boys.
The boys right now are 5-1-1 and ranked number 3, I believe, in Division 2.
I'm going to take over the girls' numbers. When we started the meeting tonight, the girls were 5 wins, no losses, no ties. And they were in their 6th game, and now they're 6-2-0. And I have to say I have a little soft spot in my heart for the goalie who doesn't have a very soft heart. She's tough. And Winthrop was recognized 2 weeks ago, in the Globe North on Sunday with a half-page article on the goalie, who I will say is my granddaughter. She's beautiful. She's a tough goalie, and I'm very proud, and I'm using my spot here to congratulate and thank my granddaughter Gretchen, who, again tonight, did a formidable job in the goal. So that's my school department update, my Gill family update. Her name is Gretchen Howard, and thank you, Gretchen. Jim?
Maybe this is a good time, since we're talking about the schools and sports, is the Winthrop Hockey Boosters Club is, and along with Coach Dale Dunbar, is they've earmarked January 24th to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Winthrop High School hockey. So it's gonna be a day event that they have I believe a game at 2 o'clock at the rink at home. Then there's a Legends game at 4 o'clock, and then followed by an event at St. John's at 6:30. You can contact the Winthrop Hockey Boosters Club for more information and tickets. They're gonna have a unique fundraising effort at St. John's after, where they're gonna be auctioning off, I believe, jerseys from the past. So old, players can try to get their jerseys from years gone by, and it'll be a great event commemorating 50 years of hockey in Winthrop. So I encourage all to get more information on that, and that will be January 24th, Saturday.
It's a busy day.
It is a busy day.
Yeah, right. Okay, thank you. That concludes the school department update, and we'll move on to new business. We have a motion from the town manager that the town council vote to approve a transfer of $15,000 from capital reserve to DPW expenditure line 019-6052-588023 for the purpose of finishing the Winthrop Street Corridor Phase 1 engineering or take any other action relative thereto. Mr. McKenna, did you want to speak on that?
Yes, we are at a point where we are eager to complete the outstanding engineering work for the Winthrop Street Corridor project and get that to a point where we can submit it to be considered for TIP funding. Steve, did you want to add anything?
No, I just want to, this was the large-scale project that we cut into 2 phases. Because of the the extension from the TIP project out 4 years to be basically offering funding for new projects, we wanted to get the first phase from the Metcalf Square down to McGee's Corner to 100% engineering, so that we could, one, be in a position to continue on the TIP funding, should it go that long, but also to make us potentially eligible to tap into our transportation bond bill and utilize that money for the first phase of the project. So we had already started on the full scale of the project, the full scope. We utilized some money for the outreach, public meetings, engineering money in the tune of about $15,000 going in the direction of preparing for the TIP funding. When we brought the project back to two phases, to get the first phase to 100% engineering, we're coming up approximately $15,000 short. To a point where we have it 100% engineering, that we could actually put something out to bid. So that's what this money would do. It would get us to a point where we could bid the project between Metcalf Square and McGee's Corner.
Thank you.
Yes.
Didn't we put up about 150 grand for that?
We put up 147,000 for 25% engineering for the entire scope of the project.
Okay.
25%. What we did was we cut that project in half to get half of the project to 100% engineering.
So 100% is like 160,000. 147 plus the.
Well, we've already done some. We've already done some engineering and some survey work for the full scope of the project. So part of that other project is engineered.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, could I, Rich? A motion to approve. So the, do I have a motion do I have a second on the motion?
There's a second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. And the motion is that we move that the town council vote to approve the transfer of $15,000 from capital reserve, DPW expenditure line 016-052-588023 for the purpose of finishing the Winthrop Street Corridor Project Phase 1 engineering. We have a motion made and seconded. We need a motion to refer to finance.
Motion.
Motion by Councilor Sanford to refer to finance. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Lettieri?
Yep.
All those in favor of referring to finance, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Motion by the town manager to the town council approve the transfer of $57,950 from the capital reserve for the purpose of matching CZM grant for Lewis Lake Tide Gate engineering, or take any other action relative thereto. Mr. Manager.
Yes, as you are aware, we recently were awarded a grant of approximately $173,000 by the Coastal Zone Management to design and permit the infrastructure at the Lewis Lake, the tide gate in particular, to go to an automated tide gate. There's a significant amount of engineering that is required to do that work, and we have, as part of the requirement for the grant, a matching component that the town needs to have its own skin in the game, if you will, on that, which equates to the dollar value that we have here. So we would like to not only take advantage of the grant we were awarded, but provide for the totality of the funding required to make that happen.
Motion.
So moved.
Motion by Council Sanford, seconded by? It's going to committee, yeah. But motion seconded by Council Boyajin. Do I have a motion to refer it to committee?
So moved.
Motion by Council Barone, seconded by Council Sanford to move to the Finance Committee the motion that states, I move the town council vote to approve the transfer of $57,950 from capital reserve for the purpose of matching CZM grant for Lewis Lake Tide Gate engineering, or take any other action relative thereto. If there's no discussion on the motion, all those in favor of referring, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Denise, would you advertise that for the next meeting? Thank you.
Can we just go back to the manager's report for a second?
Yes, go ahead.
There was something in the Dropbox tonight. It was information, town council information that...
Yeah, that's our ISO survey.
You didn't touch on it.
I haven't, because I'm not ready to, but I wanted to give it to you as hot off the press. We basically received a survey for our ISO rating, the good work of the fire department, and routinely for insurance purposes, establishing a rating for the community for our response to fires, and how homeowners insurance is then rating is set based on that ISO analysis. I wanted to give you a copy of the report, have you look at it, and then we can talk about it.
We'll have a little discussion on the next meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So just out of curiosity, it's 30 pages. Is there any particularly good parts to read?
It's very interesting. Please dive right into it.
I asked the question
You'll
because
be
I looked at
impressed.
it.
I don't want to let the good news out
No,
yet,
yeah.
but there's some good news in there.
You hide it? You want to highlight it?
We have an improved rating. That's all.
For the 2015 council committees, they've remained the same, except on the Finance Committee. Council Sanford has stepped back, and Council Boyajin is taking over. I want to thank you for your past service, Rich for your future service, and thank everybody else for staying on the committees that you're on and moving forward with that. I appreciate it. In accordance with Article 3 of the Charter, I want to present the 2014 State of the Town message. I'm going to start by taking this opportunity to recognize and express appreciation to all of our department heads and their staffs, as well as to our appointed town boards and committees, the town manager, and the town council for their accomplishments in 2014. The spirit of cooperation, enthusiasm, and effort is responsible for significant improvement and performance in the delivery of the town services for the town of Winthrop in 2014. The progress of Winthrop's accomplishments of 2014, including but not limited to the following, will be continued to be monitored in 2015, including the construction of the new 6 to 12 middle high school, the school improvement plan, including keeping pace with today's technology, continuing strengthening the partnership of sharing of resources between general government and school department, implementation of the comprehensive town building maintenance plan, continuation of the road, sidewalk, water, sewer infrastructure repairs, including Pico Cottage Ave major projects, capital improvement for facilities updates, equipment and vehicle replacement. See the 5-year capital program adopted in 2013 and updated in 2014. Continuing cleanliness and overall attractiveness efforts of the town, including roadside, post and rail fencing, landscaping, and tree replacement programs. Engineering and development for the Winthrop Street Corridor project, including consideration of some additional engineering funding. Developing of the town-wide as well as the Regional Economic Development Plan, see the Center Business District zoning that was adopted in 2014. Completion of over $20 million in private investor projects, the Winthrop Beach Restoration Project, water sewer service efficiency efforts, and including the completion of the radio read meter installation program. Siemens light replacement to LED, Blue Wave solar power purchase program, improved energy efficiency heating systems, and other green community efforts. Public Safety Central Dispatch, resulting in more effective, efficient uses of resources, and continue to settle labor contracts and other operational expenditures in accordance with council budgetary guidelines. In addition to the continued focus on the 2014 accomplishments, some of which are still works in progress, which need to be monitored and continued, the following are proposed as we plan for the future of Winthrop. Further encouragement of investment in improvement of existing residential and commercial real estate. Further encouragement of new development and investment by streamlining and simplifying the licensing, permitting, and zoning processes, as well as updating ordinances where appropriate. Further encouragement of new business development. See the business planning book developed in 2014. Development of investor incentive programs, example, tax incentive programs. Negotiation of the new MWRA mitigation package. Development of a workable business plan for the ferry service, including service to the Boston Harbor Islands and other recreational uses. Development of the Walk Winthrop program. Development of a marketing plan for the town. Planning and design of the Belle Marsh Ecology Park and Walkway. Development and enforcement of the Marina Houseboat ordinances. Establishment of a committee for the review of town charter and ordinances in accordance with Section 9.5 of the charter. Establishment of a committee to study the reuse of the former middle school building. Consideration of additional clerical and technical support for boards and committees to enhance board participation and improve compliance with open meeting laws. Continued Finance Department progress, including budget planning and monitoring of enterprise funds and increasing stabilization funds, which were established in 2014. Careful consideration of the potential fiscal impacts of proposed 9C cuts in the preparation and management of the FY16 town budget. Increased collections of revenue by continuing aggressive tax, title, and foreclosure measures, as well as real estate tax liens for outstanding water, sewer obligations, etc. Going on with increasing revenue, grant-seeking efforts. Some grants require matching funds, as we talked about tonight, which must be provided for in the annual budget. Monitoring of fees for services, as well as enterprise funds, noting that fees should cover the cost of the service, plus continue to build appropriate reserves. And intensified enforcement of all town ordinance, increasing revenue, as well as encouraging compliance, resulting in a cleaner, healthier community. Continued positive annual DOR report with historic free cash and no suggestions for improvement of financial management practices. Improvement in the existing real estate and new development will increase Winthrop's real estate tax base. Establishment of parking enterprise funds to earmark receipts generated by the development of paid municipal parking lots. Increased enforcement of existing on-street parking ordinances. Tag and tow for resident parking, sticker, street sweeping, snow emergency violations, etc. Maintenance of the town landing facility, including resurfacing the barge. Completion of the exterior improvements of the police station. Restoration of the town hall cupola. Reconstruction, restoration of drainage system through the golf course and Lewis Lake, including appropriation of matching funds for the ZDM grant. Thanks for putting all those in place tonight, Mr. Manager. Reconstruction and restoration of Miller Field. In summary, Winthrop is a desirable seaside community offering the opportunity of safe, affordable living within easy commuting distance to Boston, a world-class city. We need to be committed to the preservation and improvement of Winthrop's amenities and resources. It is vital to continue to provide an inviting and pleasant atmosphere for our residents and our visitors. We need to continue to maintain and improve our community to attract new homeowners to Winthrop and to encourage present homeowners to remain in Winthrop. We need to encourage citizens to become more involved in the future of Winthrop, to communicate their vision, opinions, priorities, and ideas, and to invest in the future of our community. Submitted December 31st, 2014, Peter Gill, President, Winthrop Town Council. Thank you. We have our work cut out for us, guys. Moving on to appointments, I would like to appoint Diane Mackin. We had circulated Diane's resume regarding her experience, and I would like to appoint Diane to the Board of Assessors, effective immediately, to fill the unexpired term of Scott Kinsella until June of 2015.
I'll make that motion.
A motion to approve by Councilor Del Vento, seconded by Councilor Lettieri. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. I think on my notes I left something out. Where's a copy of the agenda right?
Public comment.
Yeah.
No,
No.
Proposal for plan for reuse.
Yeah, what was it? 142 Pleasant, I had an item on it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the revised.
So that's
Yeah.
revised.
Maybe
Yeah,
they get the
it
revised,
didn't hit
okay.
mine, I'm sorry.
Didn't hit mine.
Didn't hit my printed copy.
I have
Hold on one
revised
second.
one.
It's on there, I know it's on there.
Executive session.
It's just,
No, it's not the
actual. It's proposal of a plan for reuse.
Proposal of a plan for reuse of
Right.
142 Pleasant.
Yeah. Okay, a little history on 142 Pleasant. Some of the councilors are more familiar with what has gone on 142 Pleasant Street in the past than I am. I've had some inquiries, some concerns from neighbors, from others, as to what's going to happen at 142 Pleasant Street. Currently, there is no activity there. There has been at least one recent neighborhood meeting where the neighbors expressed their concerns. The owner had expressed what he had intended to do. Since then, there's been no communication that I know of back and forth anywhere. I have a concern that we have a building in a neighborhood that's in a deteriorating condition, and somebody needs to make a move or a decision as to what should be done there. Neighbors have concerns. Some people would like nothing done. Some people would like the buildings taken down. Some people would like to see redevelopment. Some people would like to see a special SDOD like we talked about earlier. There's concerns on the SDOD, the same concerns that came out tonight if something were to be done there or were not to be done there. So I put it on the agenda tonight to have a council discussion. Does anybody have any thoughts, any feelings? The feelings that I'm hearing from some of the neighbors is that they don't like the proposal that came up 2 years ago. They don't like a proposal that came up maybe a year and a half ago, but they feel that something needs to be done, that the building needs to be, something needs to be done to the property, whether it's demolished and whatever. So I'm opening it up to the council, and I know that the rules say that the citizens at the president's, council president's discretion may participate, and I know Mr. Demento is here specifically for that, to talk to that or to listen to that, so I will allow Mr. Demento and anybody else in the audience who would like to participate. But I'll start with the council. Rich?
So, because I'm pretty new, what was the latest proposal that the person who owns the property submitted a year and a half ago, you said? What was their...
At one point, and I'm working from memory, at one point I think there was a request, not a request, an idea to do 18 units, and it wasn't clear whether they would be rental or condominium. The last informal proposal that was made to a citizen gathering, I believe, was for 14 condominium units. They did specify that they would be condominiums, not apartments. However, that was a proposal that was not etched in stone. It was sort of this is what we'd like to do. When the developer was discouraged, apparently, when he heard the neighborhood concerns, and didn't proceed any further, and I have heard nothing since then. Any other comments from the council?
No one has attempted to contact this owner and find out what he's gonna do, if he's trying to sell it or if he wants.
Let me step back. He put it on the auction block. The day of the auction, the auctioneer showed up, the owner contacted him after he showed up and said, cancel the auction.
When was that?
What, that was, I would say 6 months ago.
Yeah, 6 months ago.
I have not attempted to contact the owner. I didn't feel that it was my prerogative without some input from the council. If the council would like me or like Mr. McKenna to contact the owner. Now, there's rumors out that there are people interested in buying it. There have been people go to the building department since the auction and ask what they could do with it. But as far as, I don't know of any action that is anybody under agreement or anything. So I will take the direction of Mr. McKenna, take the direction to go to the, if that's what the council wants us to do.
Question? I don't know how we can interfere with anything that he's doing if he hasn't come to us with a proposal.
We can't.
The owner.
We
of the
can't.
property, except we have an abandoned property bylaw that we put in 2 years ago, and if it falls under that bylaw, there are steps that we can take with our enforcement people. But I don't think we as a council should be discussing what this guy should do with his property. I think we can, unless he's come to us and asked for another SDOD, which we rejected the last time.
When does the abandoned property thing kick in? What would?
Can you give us, just to interrupt Rich, can you give us some idea on summary of the abandoned?
I can if you give me a minute. I can.
Okay, in the meantime, let's see, I understand what Phil says, and that's why I haven't done anything, but the reason I brought it to the council is to do it in open session and to get the feeling of the council. Do we just sit back and let this thing rot? But by the way, there has been significant deterioration, I've been told, in the interior of the building. I've been told there were breaks, I don't mean break-ins, I mean freeze, water, mold. So I guess what I'm looking at is some input from the council. Do we sit back and let it rot, or do we try to do something?
Yeah.
Question. Excuse me, Russ.
Yeah, as precinct 5 councilman, you know, some of the concerns of the neighbors are very justified. In fact, most of them were. But some of the rumblings about some of the things that may have gone on or may be coming forward, some people think they're scare tactics, some people think that they're just rumors. I don't know, I can't say yes or no. My concern is that the wrong thing ends up going in there, or it ends up in litigation and nothing happens with the property at all. I don't think, as Council Corey said, we should be involved in any of his personal real estate investments. However, I think as a council, whether it be that piece of property or another piece of property in town that seems to be abandoned, that we do have some responsibility in at least getting some information and trying to have some dialogue with the property owner, and especially with the neighbors, to make sure that we can come up with something and it just doesn't sit vacant for a long time or end up in something that we don't want to have there at all. And that would be my only concern. I had a question. You had mentioned the significant deterioration of the edifice. At what point would the town say that it needs to come down?
Well, similar, if I might,
yes,
Council President, similar to what we've done in a couple of instances now, successfully, is to pursue potentially a receivership type of approach, where we would go to court, and we would make an inspection of the property, understand what the conditions are, and if we find that the structure does pose significant hazards to not just not habitability per se, because no one's living there, but if it's an attractive nuisance, for example, or if it's something that could invite, some safety issues, and those are legitimate, and our public safety team, as well as our building commissioner, find that this abandonment poses a hazard to the neighborhood, then we could arguably go to court and get a receivership applied to it, as we have in other cases, and and then compel performance of some kind. Obviously, some properties, invite clear, end results that you look for. A single-family house wants to be returned back to a single-family house. That project, invites a challenge in terms of what would we do with it and what would be the end result. And so, I think we'd have to have some clarity in terms of how, what we want to see done with the building.
So we couldn't tear it down?
We could. There's a potential that we could, in fact, have that done. And that be the cost incurred by, the property owner.
Councilor.
I think there's two things I wanted to. I think we should do what we would normally do as a standard practice. That if this is what if this is what should happen, and that we should. We should, for the full extent that we're able to under the ordinance, we should pursue that avenue. And the other question, I guess, was concerns about the rumors, and maybe not substantiated, but of whether or not that one of the things I had heard, that again, not to be spreading things, but that whether the state's interested in making a halfway house out of this or something like that. I don't know if that's something that would be a great concern to us too. In regards to that. So I think I don't know what avenues we can do to get more control over that rather than I'm not sure.
Council President.
And I think along those same lines, if I were an investor of a piece of property like that, and I felt as though my back was up against the wall, I may be inclined to make such a decision prior to intervention by the town. And that's, it's a fine line. So I think realistically, we have to look at both sides on the investor's part as well as the town's responsibility. Because again, pushed against the wall, that could be a decision that could be easily made. We would have no recourse and no input to whether or not that was done. So that's a genuine concern. Thanks, Council.
Good point, Councilman.
In light of the fact that it's of general interest and a concern to the town, why don't we just ask the town manager to call the property owner, engage a discussion, and see what comes out? That we're not pushing them up against the wall, calling them up, listen, see what's
and Council President. Yeah.
Councilor Sanford.
Yeah. If we can engage Mr. Demento in a conversation, I know his concerns here. Have you heard anything from your point of view?
Rumor mill, last time we called Speaker DeLeo's office, they had nobody inquiring through his office about doing anything with it. And as Mr. Gill said, we had a neighborhood meeting September.
I believe it was September.
Whenever it was. And Mr. Cipolletto was representing the Spinelli Enterprises. And the owner was there, and we overwhelmingly, at that time, asked that refer to residential A, which it should be right now, and that the building be torn down because 14 units is too much for the neighborhood. And so we heard mention that, I can't remember his name now, it's not Spinelli, but that they were thinking of doing all sorts of different things, and they had different people inquiring, and as Mr. Gill said, calling off the auction was very interesting, because at the time we got through the meeting, the one Spinelli who was there was rethinking his thoughts, and we actually thought he'd put it back up for auction. But the neighborhood's idea has been that they'd come down, and I think at that night they had a price to take it down, and that it'd be residential A and like two families or two families at the most on the lot. And
I think that's right, and it is residential A now. It has reverted back automatically due to its non-use for over 2 years.
It was residential A before that building was put up.
Right.
That was a structure, as you well remember.
Right. And it
structure.
Right, with a nice cupola on top. Good shape.
That was all the rumor mill that, up to that point, and this is the first time I'd heard that it came up. And the neighborhood is waiting to see what the council is going to do with this.
Yeah, and that's why I put it on the table tonight, because I think somebody needs to do something to determine what's gonna be there, whether it's gonna just, whether the owner is gonna, what his plans are. Is he gonna tear it down, as you suggest he said he might, or is he gonna leave it there just doing nothing? And if that's the case, then the town has to step in and do something.
Yeah, or depending on his circumstance, decide to sell to something, or a nonprofit, or a health, a halfway house. Rumors are rumors, but there could be a realistic, option for the
There was
owner.
supposedly a lot of damage.
Right.
Right.
I'm sure there is.
It might have been in there.
We froze up the sprinkler system last year, and when we entered at the Woodside Ave level, the lower level, when we opened the doors, we released up to 18 inches of water.
Wow.
Really?
Terrific.
It would be a great,
So-
great firehouse with a small bakery in it.
Can we put a police level in there too? Yes, Rich.
So, is it reasonable, as, Council Sanford and Council Mail said, maybe to have the town manager reach out, but again, if we get nowhere, I would say accelerate what we can in regards to, if this is an abandoned property, you've had 18 inches of water in there, and there's probably lovely mold spores in there that aren't good, and to pursue that, is there any way to look at to reach out to, Speaker DeLeo, to touch base again to see if there's been any more inquiries about state use of that property or things like that, so that we could kind of at least hedge our bet, knowing that we're pursuing aggressive measures, but there hasn't been any, state inquiry about it, just to confirm that. If there's any possible, I don't even know if you can do that, I'd
All they
rather-
can
so-
tell you is if they've had any inquiries going through their office. And like
That's-
I said, 4
Sure.
or 5, 6 months ago, he reported that they had no inquiries.
I'm sorry, Rich, did you say recently he reported or?
4 or 5 months.
Okay.
I guess I'd want to know now, and then I'd want to pursue it as aggressive as possible, but like you said, being mindful that it could back them into a corner, but.
So where we are at this point is we have some concern among the council, some concern about from the neighbors, and some concern from the public safety people that there is an issue there, and that I think we need to address it one way or the other, but if it's the will of the council to just ignore it, I guess that's what we'll do, so.
No, just a
No.
question.
I had a question. Worst possible case scenario, and it was a halfway house, would it be privately run or state-run? The question being, if it's privately run, do the numbers work for someone to buy it, renovate it, make a profit? So we can at least look at that, to see if it's a viable threat or
It
Uh,
was a licensed 85-bed nursing.
Well, but
Was,
hold on,
past tense.
hold on.
residential.
I'm saying future use.
Vice President, ma'am?
Just as another question to Mr. Demento, so 14 wasn't acceptable, and you've already said that 6 is. And in light of the fact that it has to make sense for someone, is 12 acceptable?
No, not at the last meeting, it wasn't.
It wasn't
No.
to the neighbors or
The
to the
neighbors are not-
developer?
There was a man that was gonna buy that, and he did his diligence, and went to the building inspector, and checked it all out, and decided not to buy it. The Rosseo family, I think it is, not Spinelli, went ahead and bought it without checking, because somebody told them that they could go right ahead and do anything they wanted.
That
And that's
wasn't,
when we ended up with a proposal for 18 units.
18, right.
but my question is that the last time you were at a meeting, I thought you said that they proposed 14 units,
Yeah,
was it?
That was the
And you
last
said-
time.
And you said that wasn't acceptable to the
unacceptable.
neighbor. So I just asked, knowing that 6 is already acceptable and you're gonna end up, looking at the best interest of everybody involved, if it can't, I don't see it making it at 6, where are you willing to go? I mean, is 12 unacceptable to the neighborhood?
I'm only speaking for myself.
Okay, in that case,
The
I'll
last
present the
meeting, it was
question to you.
unacceptable.
So 12 would be unacceptable
As
to,
far as I know, going back 5 months.
to you personally as an abutter.
Yeah, and the people that were there, Mr. Gill will tell you, was unacceptable.
12 was unacceptable. You said
Yes.
14 was unacceptable.
I think the other sentiment of the meeting was that something other sentiment of some of the attendees at the meeting was something needs to be done. Mr. McKenna?
Yes, a group home would satisfy our local zoning as a single dwelling. And as a structure, you could renovate that structure as it stands as a one single family, if you will, provided that it's held under a nonprofit status, wherein you could have the equivalent of the density that we're all talking about in terms of cut up subdivided units, but have it under one roof and have a group home, provided there's an educational component and and serving these other, public interests under the fair housing law. And we'd have limited ability to prevent that use. In fact, extremely limited ability, and we could be found to be discriminatory. So let's not kid ourselves that if one were to make a pitch from if there was governmental funding involved, if there was a potential for housing, essentially, a number of inhabitants there under a group home setting that's funded through a nonprofit, that's a very real alternative for the site.
So are you saying, right, I understand that, and, group home, that's a very wide definition of who's in a group home. And, certainly, but you're saying that they might, I don't even see that this is a rehabable building. If you've had 18 inches of water in there for how many months that have been like that, you're gonna put the most disadvantaged human beings in a group home in a renovated, mold factory or something, that's pretty.
There is a group home next door, the John Clark House.
Right.
Has been there for well over 20 years, and it fits in the neighborhood.
But group home is a very wide definition of right for that versus group home can be for much different people that have other disabilities that may not be as
Right, and educational is a very broad term too.
Yes,
absolutely.
Very broad. The other thing is the rehabbing of the building, even though it's had water, it's a concrete structure.
Absolutely,
It's not a wooden building.
Oh, I'm sorry,
so
okay.
It would be a
Yeah.
cleanup effort.
So all right.
That'd be an easy
Yeah.
renovation.
Any other comments from the council? Any suggestions from the
Well,
council?
If I would suggest that either town manager or council president engage in some kind of conversation, just to kind of get a sense and a feel, where they're coming from and where we're coming from. By sitting and being passive, I don't think anything's going to happen, so. Or again, something going to happen that we really don't want to happen, so. I'd like to engage in some
So I
conversation.
think we have a motion from Councilor Sanford to have the manager, and I'll be happy to join with you, to enter into a conversation with the owner and/or his designee.
Second.
And it'll be seconded by Councilor Boyage, and we'll report back at the next meeting, even if we have nothing to report.
Right.
Okay?
And if possible, I'd like to be part of that conversation.
Great, okay, good.
As
Yeah,
council
yeah, as the,
precinct.
yeah, sure.
Okay.
And also as a builder.
We'll come in as a council.
Okay. Is there any discussion on that
At the
motion?
same time, we should have L and G take a look at not only the abandoned property division, but our problem property ordinance that we put in
Right.
just recently when we did the three family and above properties.
Okay, and then
And I think
maybe,
there are ways that L can enforce things that we can't enforce as a council.
okay.
But they are, this isn't a tax issue, they're current on all
They're
that.
current on
bills.
the
No,
tax.
they-
Is it a public safety? Should it go to public safety committee? To the-
not yet, let's see what we come back with.
No,
next
that's what
week.
I'm just asking.
And then at that point, we would probably be smart to do a joint public safety and rules.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion on that motion? Councilor
Mr.
Chairman?
How,
Did you have a question?
no,
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion to refer to the manager to contact the owner or his designee, and I will work with him and Councilor Sanford to determine where we go with this. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Public comment.
Now, before we get to public comment, I don't know if it's appropriate now or not, but I'd like to offer citations. Councilor Sanford had mentioned the chamber dinner. citations from the council to the recipients, award recipients in the chamber dinner, as well as a citation to Winthrop High School hockey for their 50 years to be presented on the 24th.
Motion by Councilor Lettieri that we present motion citations to the winners, to the award recipients at the chamber dinner, and I will...
To all of them, except Don Lettieri, who I'll make a motion for later.
I will be happy to deliver those for the council, and also we'll do one for the hockey that you will deliver.
And Richard Honan?
What about for Richard?
Yeah, and for Richard Honan, yes,
do it all.
okay. All, any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous, thank you. Public comment?
Anybody?
The public relation,
Yeah, I was gonna just make a motion that we give one to Don Lettieri for being named the outstanding.
yeah, she's gonna be part of that.
Because he should not have made the motion to give his wife.
For the conflict of interest.
So.
So do you want us to withdraw that?
He did it.
Is it a
Yeah,
let's do a second
motion. I'm making a second
Okay.
motion to.
Okay.
I'll second it. All in favor?
What did he do?
Jim
Don
recused
gets
himself from his
He recused himself from his motion.
From the motion.
Is that, can you recuse yourself from your own motion? I
It's the
don't
second
think that's
motion.
legal.
You don't second it.
No.
He made an accuse.
He made an amendment, yeah.
That's ended.
Yeah.
Just
Fast forward.
don't worry.
I think we got it.
Okay,
We're all
moving on. If there is no further public comment, the council anticipates going into executive session to discuss various litigation matters involving personnel, and that's reason 3 on the reasons to go in. The chair declares that discussion of these matters in open session may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body. The council will return from executive session for adjournment only. Could I have a motion to go into executive session?
Motion.
Motion by Councilor
Second.
Devento, seconded by
Sure, second.
Councilor Boyage. Do we have a roll call?
Council Callow. Council Sanford.
Yes.
Council McCory.
Yes.
Council Barone.
Council Moreau?
Council Barone?
Yes, please.
Council Boyage.
Yes.
Council Mayo. Vice President Devento. President Gill.
Yes.
Next street.
Councilor Lettieri?
Council Terry. Yes.